Hi Owen, it is your Aunt Bay. It's bedtime, so let's read a bedtime story together. Tonight we are going to read Josef's Big Dream by Andy Amendola and Josef and Ashley Newgarden. Let's start. Josef's Big Dream, an Indy 500 story. Little Josef was born in Nashville, Tennessee. It was like he was born on wheels. He spent hours on his radio flyer, dreaming of winning a big race one day. Josef loved anything with wheels, but what he really wanted was to drive. At 3 years old, he asked his dad for a go-kart. He begged and begged, "Please." If you crash, you could get hurt. His dad would always worry. Josef's dad always said no. Josef and his dad watched racing on TV, IndyCar, Formula One, and even stock car racing. His favorite race cars looked like rocket ships with pointy noses and wings. Each May, they waited for the famous Indianapolis 500-mile race, the greatest spectacle in racing, where winners become legends. As he watched the Indy 500 with his dad, that's when Josef's big dream was born. Deep down, he knew he wanted to win that race one day. Between school and sports, Josef was always on the move. The only time he sat still was when he played with remote-controlled race cars. He took them apart, changed the parts, and made them go faster and faster. It was like putting together a puzzle to build the perfect racing machine. As Josef grew, he watched live races with his dad at nearby tracks. He was amazed as the race cars competed like gladiators, battling in a Roman Colosseum. The cars were so fast, and they raced so close without crashing. Did these drivers have superpowers? Josef's love for racing grew stronger with each race he watched. At age 11, Josef received a motorized scooter. It was the best gift and his first taste of everything that goes into racing. When he wasn't riding his scooter, he spent hours trying to understand how it worked, and he spent even more hours trying to make it faster. He raced his scooter around the neighborhood with his friends, and soon he was competing in races across the USA. When Josef turned 13, his karting dream came true. His parents finally bought him a go-kart and took him to a special training program in Indiana. It was near the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Karting was the perfect sport. People noticed Josef's talents. While he was in Indiana, Josef met his heroes, professional drivers, and even previous winners of the iconic Indy 500 race. Until then, big races were scary, but now Josef believed he could be like those winners. The quest for the Indy 500 was on. At 15, Josef wasn't perfect in every race, but he learned from his mistakes and began winning junior championships. Accepted to his professional racing school, he transitioned from karts to real race cars, where mistakes could be dangerous. In his first big race, Josef crashed into a tough corner. Though unhurt, he was scared, and he wanted to quit. "Quitting is a choice only you can make," his father told him. Mistakes happen in racing, but success comes with practice, effort, and determination. Josef didn't give up. The next day, he got back behind the wheel and won the race. He was more focused than ever. Most kids Josef's age were enjoying school dances and football games, but Josef was thinking about a difficult decision. He was invited to race in Europe. Should he stay home or go? Racing meant everything to him, and his dream was clear: to become an Indy 500 champion. Making history meant making sacrifices, and even if he got lonely or scared sometimes. So off Josef went. He raced at historic racetracks all over Europe, until he received a call to come home. At 20, Josef got invited to race in the IndyCar Junior Series. It was a big step before the professional series, and a step closer to the Indy 500. He was more determined than ever. Back in the USA, he won 5 races that season. He even won the Junior Championship with a race to spare, setting up the chance of a lifetime. What do you think it'll be? Josef, now grown up, had earned his first full-time seat on a professional IndyCar racing team. He had worked for this moment his whole life, but his fear of making mistakes still haunted him. Soon, May arrived. Josef would finally get a shot at his dream, winning the Indy 500 he used to watch on TV from his dad's lap. The pressure was huge. It wasn't just any race. The Indy 500 was the biggest race in the world. He was nervous, but Josef was ready to show the world just how fast he was. And he did. He earned the title of fastest rookie in qualifying rounds. But the big race came and went. His car lost power with just 40 laps to go. Josef was not able to finish the race. In his early years racing at the Indy 500, Josef faced many challenges. Sometimes he felt like giving up, but he knew many people believed in him. Josef's dad said it would take time for things to work out. The 500 was a special race where you had to be nearly perfect to win. Josef kept trying, learning along the way. He would not give up. In 2016, Josef returned to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for his 5th try at winning. This time, things felt different. He had a new team dedicated to winning the historic Indy 500. He had prepared and practiced for years, but the best Josef could do was 3rd place. Unfortunately, the only position that matters at the Indy 500 is 1st. But Josef would not give up. In 2019, Josef was having his best year yet. His team was doing everything right, and on Indy 500 race day, he knew his car had the speed to win. But after 150 exhausting laps, Josef was finally leading the Indy 500 with 50 laps to go. Suddenly, an accident interrupted the race. It gave him an opening to set up the win. He just needed to get past his teammate in the final laps. But he wasn't fast enough. His teammate crossed the finish line first. Josef had never been so sad. Josef vowed to push harder and risk it all next time. He would not give up. Josef had failed many times, but he was still determined to win for his family, friends, and fans. Each year, he prepared. He spent days reviewing past races. He looked over timesheets, driver reports, and team radios. He was still not willing to give up. Josef won many championships, but not the Indy 500. 3 more 500 races passed without a victory. Each one made him feel a little less sure of himself. He doubted he would ever win the big race, but still, he would not give up. On his 12th attempt at the Indy 500, he spent his time practicing, thinking about the race, and the people he didn't want to disappoint. He had watched so many races with his dad, and now he was one of the drivers on TV. Like a bolt of lightning, Josef suddenly realized he was already living his dream. The weight of all the expectations vanished. He no longer had to prove anything to anyone, especially himself. Josef enjoyed the morning of the big race with his family and his friends away from the spotlight. They shared stories and celebrated their journey together. As race time approached, Josef stepped onto the grid. He never abandoned his dream, and he never would. Starting in 17th place, he knew winning would be tough. But today, he raced for himself. This time, he knew what he had to do. Josef made a bold move on the final lap. The risk paid off, and with 1 lap to go, he took the lead. Looking behind him in his mirrors, Josef spotted last year's winner right on his tail. He pushed harder than ever before. He would not give up. And this time, Josef crossed the finish line first. There he is, this car right here. Josef jumped into the crowd to celebrate. He drank the milk with his team on victory podium and kissed the bricks alongside his family. His dream had come true. Josef won the Indy 500. With his name now written in the history books and his face forever etched on the famous Borg Warner trophy, Josef's win was the ultimate reward for never giving up. But, like all winners before him, he knew his racing career was far from finished. Josef was not giving up. He was on to the next adventure. The end. That was Josef's Big Dream by Andy Amendola and Josef and Ashley Newgarden. Owen, it's time to go to bed. I love you so much. Good night.